Okay, so SLE number 9. For number 1, what role do social workers play as advocates in institutions? And how should they balance their responsibilities? So I've actually thought about this just in thinking about social workers in prisons and thinking about I heard a social worker one time, I can't remember where it was, but she was talking about how she had been in the prison system, and she just wanted so much for her clients to succeed. And it was really, really difficult to see them not succeed or not follow the path that they had discussed. And it's really hard because, it's a good place to make, really good connections, but it's also a really draining place. And so I think that social workers, as far as advocates in institutions, they're the people who are not worried about keeping order. There are people who are worried about the people in the institution, and I think that's a really important distinction. And I mean, not to say that other workers in the prison system aren't, but I think that social workers, that's their only role, is to see them succeed, and to address different issues and concerns that they have, and really, they need to really humanize them, which is super important. And so, yeah, I think that it's difficult to balance their responsibility to their client and their employer and the public. But I think just making sure to keep really strict boundaries and always make ethical decisions. Because, first and foremost, we have to follow the code of conduct, and make sure that we're really doing what's best for the people that we're serving, because we're there to help our clients, right? In our institution or a place of work, our employer should back us up in that, if we can really, make sure that what we're doing is ethical and right. Okay, so 2, many social workers are reluctant to work in correction settings, and how would you reconcile social work values with the authoritarian and involuntary nature of prison? So I think that's really hard, because the prison system is not what it should be, and it's really frustrating, and it's really hard to think about, can we make changes from the inside? And I think that that's what the mindset of a social worker going into an institution should be, or the prison system should be. I want to make a change from the inside, because that's really, what we can do. What we should be aiming towards is helping to fix a broken system, and then advocating in our roles outside of, our actual place of work, of really advocating for a better system, because we in the prison system are able to really connect to these people and see what the systems are actually doing to them. All right, number 3. Yeah, so this happened pretty recently. I didn't exactly choose the facility that my fiance's grandma is going into, but I know that it happened really, really quickly. It was just really unsafe at some point, because her mind had just really gone. So I mean, the decisions that went into that were even less financial and more, what is the best memory care facility that is really, provides a lot of one-on-one care, is focused on memory care, has really safe rooms, good policies, and I know that it's really expensive, like maybe $4,000 a month or something like that, but I know that not everyone gets that choice, and, the choice between facilities, and so I think, price is an issue, but also just what is going to make them the most comfortable. I know that a lot of people will have family members there for generations, and so they trust it, so yeah, and so I think, cost and, the facility itself and their policies. And then, yeah, the video, mental health behind bars, and how is it relevant to us as social workers? Well, I mean, I kind of covered it a little bit before, that we can be advocates within the system. And I think that it's just really relevant because so many of our clients are interacting with the prison system whether that be with substance abuse, whether that be with parents going into the prison system and, the foster care realm. Really, there's just so many intersections, as well as just the role that it plays in systemic racism in the United States. And so I think that we really need to advocate for change within the prison system and the corrections facilities and systems. Okay. 5, a recent trend in institutional care is privatization. Yeah. And what are the implications of this when dealing with a vulnerable population, such as children, mentally ill, and older adults? So, and can the profit motive be reconciled with the provision of quality care? I think sort of. I know that this isn't the same, right? But I went to a private school. And so I think about the opportunities that I got there and how kind of that really helped me excel. Because I was basically a grade above my age group at the charter school, right? And so they were, or it was a charter school, not a private school, but anyway, they didn't have to do, Common Core, and they got taxpayer money. And then, kind of similar for private schools. And so looking at, was it a better quality education? Yes, I would say it was. And I think that profit can potentially be reconciled with the quality of care, but the problem with that is that it doesn't really work for the prison system or institutions. Because, like we talked about, I think it was Mallory who brought up in our discussion board this past week, was that essentially that we need federal standards and, for institutions. And I think that's right. I think that prison should not be privatized. Look at the documentary, The 13th, when talking about the CCA. The problem is that they're trying to meet a quota, because if they meet this quota, they get this X amount of money, right? And that should not be a thing in the United States of America. People shouldn't need to meet a quota to get the funds, to get money. It just doesn't really work when you're talking about prisons or, things like that. I think that it is a little bit different in terms of reimbursement as far as, say that you have, a long-term memory care facility for older adults or the mentally ill, and they get reimbursed for the amount of staff they have. They have to have a specific amount of staff with a specific level of education and different training, so like CEUs, as well as, how much they spend on their patients needs to be, kind of a minimum. And so I think that that's a little bit different than just making a profit off of people. I think it's making sure that those people are taken care of. So yeah, those are my thoughts for the week. Thanks.